Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Wind, the podcast about the Kingkiller Chronicles written by Patrick Rothfuss. I am Leonard, and I am accompanied by my friend Marcy. Together, we discuss a few chapters every week. Hey, Marcy, how are you?
I'm doing very good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. We are doing today chapter 20 and 21. Do you want to directly go ahead?
Yeah, let's go straight ahead to chapter 20.
Chapter 20 Bloody Hands into Stinging Fists. What is this chapter about, Marcy?
In this chapter, Quoth arrives at Tarbean. He gets beaten there up by Pike, where in the progress his lute gets broken. Quoth tries to meet back with the farmer and his son, who brought him there, but their wagon is gone. He finally falls asleep, hungry, beaten up, and alone. What were your first impressions of this chapter?
The first thought that I had was about how big the city is because I tried to picture it in my mind, and there is some quote about it. It's Caribbean is big enough that you cannot walk from one end to the other in a single day. This sounds really, really big. Can you imagine how big that is?
Yeah, I thought about this as well because I have been in a few big cities. So I've been in New York, and I think you can walk through New York in a whole day. I think that's not unrealistic. Um, then also living in Germany, I think Munich and Berlin are quite big, and Hamburg as well. And of course, traveling within the city takes a lot of time, but walking from one end to the other, I think it's more than doable. I think maybe about Berlin, you can tell a little bit more. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, Berlin is a really wide city. It's not that dense for the for the size of it, but it's really big. I just like to check quickly because I think it's about 60 kilometer wide or something like this. So that would be a big walk for one day. I think it's a bit
Okay,
too
yeah,
much.
60 kilometers. I think it's still doable, but your legs would hurt after 60 kilometers, definitely. Hmm.
Yeah, that's one way to see it. I think it's you could also say it's the kind of city that you don't walk from from one way to another in one day.
Probably. But yeah, it's as you said, it's very described as very big. So for me, it's not at least as I imagine it. I imagine it even bigger than Berlin. So it feels like this is this huge city, and also there are a lot of houses, and it's just a sea of houses and city Lantra, and yeah, just very big.
hmm Now I've just checked, and it's about 45 kilometer wide. So I was a bit a bit too gracious in the numbers. So it's doable.
Yeah,
It's
let's do it.
it's a big effort. So it's a really big city, and it's a bit surprising because the world doesn't seem so developed. And I mean, in our world, most big cities develop because of industry and stuff like this that doesn't exist there really as long as we know. So it's very surprising that there is a need for so big cities, right?
Yeah, I also thought about this question. Is it possible or is it realistic to have such a big city at the time? Because big city means you need like how it's called, sewage, is it called?
hmm
So for toilets and stuff like that, clean water, and of course, without a healthy infrastructure and some kind of development to have those spots where you have clean water, for example, it's very difficult to have so many people in one area.
hmm
And yeah, maybe we do know that sympathy has some inventions that are quite a bit advanced. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure if it's yeah, if it's possible to have this big a city in this world yet. But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I was also questioning the food topic because one main reason why most people lived in the countryside in the past is because we need all the people producing food. Otherwise, there wouldn't be enough food for everyone. So it means if there's so much people living in the city and so few people on the countryside, that means that they must have some really efficient way to produce food. So maybe sympathy has something to do with it.
Yeah, I don't know how sympathy can help by getting more food. Probably there are some tools that can help sympathy or sygaldry. Um, but yeah, as you said, I think also that food would also be a huge problem because yeah, the larger the city gets, the bigger the area is, and this is a little bit mathematical, but the area increases quadratic and the circumference only linear. And this means that you have like a quadratic increase of people there, but if you have only people on the outside of the city producing the food, then this is just a linear equation there, and it can't hold that quadratic increase.
Hmm. So, but for the most part, I trust Patrick Rothfull's world building. So I'm guessing there must be some reason why it works in his mind, but there there are no int really to it so far, right?
Yeah, and we see here the farmer and his son. They are some farmers who bring food into the city. So apparently, it is definitely a good spot to get your food sold. So yeah, I
Hmm.
trust growth was there as well. That maybe it's just some big city, and maybe we think about this too much, and it's actually not too difficult to have this there.
Hmm. What's also interesting is there are a lot of boys in this chapter that are like homeless and wandering around in the city, and that's a bit surprising because I would guess that in a world that doesn't seem so developed, they will need every boy would be needed for some tasks. Like it's okay if you if there's a boy in the street and you take them home and then you use them for helping at home or anything. So you need the working force most of the time when the world is not so developed. But it doesn't seem like so frequent because there are so much boys on the streets.
This for me is, I think, for me, when I think about maybe some less developed countries like India, who also have a lot of people and are not so developed, I think it's quite similar there. Maybe you have more people than you have work, so um, I think it's in our world, yeah, not too different.
Hmm. So about boys hanging around, there's the two guys that try to steal Quoll's lute, and one the first thing that I thought about is there is the word "nold,"
Hmm.
and it's the word that he used to talk to Quoll. And I tried to search about this word. Did you know what it means, or is it something
No,
that we're supposed to know?
I also looked it up and I didn't find anything. So yeah, it's this boy that asks, quote, "What are you doing here, Nald? You lost?" And yeah, I don't know what Nald could stand for. It's probably just some in-world insult or saying. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So you were there too.
Yeah, definitely.
And he used it twice. Why did you steal Nold? Your grandma is going to be mighty sorry you lost this Nold. So it seems really common usage for him.
Yeah, it's interesting how many times in the whole series we get to read this word because I don't know if this is only in this chapter or if it's later there. Um, yeah, could be
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, we can keep an eye out for this. I haven't encountered this so far anywhere else.
Mhm. So maybe I would like to jump back a little bit in the chapter.
Hmm.
So of course, first Quoth arrives with the farmer and his son there, and we have, I think, one of the first mentioning of the Eld. So um, he asks, quote, "How would your mother like it if you brought home a couple of the finest orange buttersquash this side of the Eld?" Which I found very interesting. So the Eld is this big forest in the east,
Hmm.
and I think this side of the Eld is it's like I think it's the whole continent is on this side of the Eld. So I think this one I found a little bit funny, and also it's hinting that there is also another side. I'm not too sure if what is east. So we have of course the mountains, and I don't
Hmm.
know how much of Tamarind is on the east of the Eld. But yeah, this was just something that I thought about.
Hmm. Also, I actually had something highlighted for this part too, because I was wondering, Tabian is pretty close to the university and Imri. It's like right around southern of France or northern Italia, if we use it as an Europe map. And the Eld is quite far away. It's like Eastern Europe, right? So it's a big way. And if they just, I'm surprised that two farmers will go from all the way from the Eld to Tabian, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I also found that very interesting. Yeah,
Maybe that it's also in that the world is not as big as we thought.
yeah, maybe. Okay, then the farmer kind of finds out that Quoth is an orphan, and this is one things that I really love though about this book is this unconditionally kindness. So yeah, he set the squash down, then turned back to Quoth and spoke with a gentle seriousness. Me and Jake will be here selling until round about sundown. If you find what you're looking for by then, you'd be welcome to back on the farm with us. The missus and me could sure use an extra hand some days. You'd be more than welcome. Wouldn't he, Jake? And then Jake said, "Sure enough, Pa." She said so right before we left. And I really liked what the son said, so that she said so right before they left, because I'm sure that she didn't. And yeah, just this unspoken kindness of the two of them, I really love that.
Hmm. I imagine the discussion before they leave home. And if you find a little boy on the road, just take him home.
Yeah, that would be funny. Yeah, but unfortunately, Quoth is too afraid and leaves, and yeah, he thinks about that he would have to explain if he would went with them,
Hmm.
and he said then anything was better than opening that door. So again, we have from last chapter maybe these four
Hmm.
doors that he has to where he can escape in, and yeah, he does not want to open one and go back.
Yes, as much as I wish for course that you will take this road and go back with the family, I think it will be an- actually a good way for him to recover and stuff. I think it only makes sense that is not so far that he cannot process so much and he is not in a mood where he can
Yeah,
accept this.
yes, definitely. Okay, then yeah, he goes a little bit around, and then, as you said, we meet Pike and a few of his buddies,
Hmm.
and they beat him up quite a bit, right?
Yeah. There's a bit of talking, but there's also a lot of hitting.
Yeah, so I don't know why I think they haven't seen him before around, and maybe he is somewhat inside their area, or yeah, the area where they generally are bagging and stealing, and they don't want him to be there, and also they see his loot and think that they can steal it from him.
Hmm. It's also funny that Quoth is not so prepared for the city life because when they first talk to him, I think it's lost Pike, and then he directly gets elbowed in the head and is already dizzy and stuff, and then it starts muttering, "I'm looking for the woodwalks," and at this point you can see that he's not prepared because there's it's not useful to ask the people that just hit you what you're looking for. So so I think he has
That's
a long
true.
way to go until he's is really apt for a good survival in Tavian.
That's true. Yeah, well, one thing that I found interesting is also that the one guy is very religious, so
Mm-hmm.
he he tells about Telu and or the other one talks about Telu and he tells him not to not to take his name and not to talk about him. And I think it fits with what we had read in the previous chapters that they are in kind of an area which is quite religious. But yeah, apparently also in the city, and as we will see in the next few chapters, yeah, Terrabine seems to be a very religious place.
Mm-hmm. Also, I like the irony that in the end, Telu does kind of save Quoth because because of the all the tiller theft. Then one of the kids starts to aggress the other kid, and then Quoth can go away. So so the big
True.
part is that Telu is the reason why Quoth is getting free.
Yeah. Do you think that then in the end, um, not to jump ahead too much, of course, that he gets beaten up further, and Pike um, Pike swings him on his lute, and the lute gets broken, and then in the end there comes a city watch. And do you think that Quoth would have died if the city watch didn't come? Do you think that Pike and the others would have killed him?
Mm. I thought about it. Mm. I I was thinking it definitely wouldn't have died on the spot, I think, but it maybe would have been left with so much injuries that he would have died in the end because of them. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too, that he would have died because I don't know how old Pike is, but yeah, he seems to be in an age where I don't know, maybe you are a little bit in between, uh, yeah, not old enough or at least a little bit innocent that you wouldn't do it, and also to be old enough to do something like this, and maybe not to be calculative enough to know what would harm him in what way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think after he bit a piece of flesh out of his shoulder, then I think Pike would have definitely
Mm-hmm.
at least have some more punches on him.
Yeah, a scary encounter.
Yeah, in this chapter, I think again this is why I think Patrick's writing is so good. I think in this chapter we see very much how bad this is, and like it's his first day in Terrabine, and he gets beaten up for me like it seems like near to death, and I really felt with him. And also when I read this chapter, then of course I had to take notes and so on, but I was really feeling with him and could not concentrate enough to write my notes. So I was reading and reading because yeah, I wanted to know how this goes, and I really felt there with Quells.
Mm-hmm. I also had a similar thought. Most of the time, I was thinking that this part of the story does not play a major role in leading up to whatever comes afterwards, but it still does a really great job to giving the atmosphere that is been living it in the 3 years following that. So I think it's not a big an important action, but it makes a lot understanding the characters in the universe.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so yeah, the City Watch comes, and actually, the City Watch checks him for some coins, and he had a copper and a couple of shims there apparently.
Hmm.
Um, but the City Watch is not happy, and yeah, apparently even the City Watch is corrupted, and yeah, it really shows that Tarabin is not a great place if you don't have yeah a family and money and a job.
Hmm. Yeah, nothing good about it. One thing that I like after the city watch is leaving, then comes Quo's a bit more to consciousness, and he's like, "Oh, my nose was broken, so I did what Bern told me, and I just cracked it back exactly on the spot." I was very
Yeah.
impressed in this case because I cannot imagine that it's so easy to do, and I cannot imagine that he had any any occasion to try it, and that's just it's just so good. So that's the kind of thing that I read with a smile, and I'm like, okay, it's just a fiction, but it could be a bit more realistic in this case.
Yeah, he is like 11 years old, right?
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I think he did well. And also funny because of course his loot gets broken here,
Hmm.
and his whole mission was when he was in the wood and his loot strings broke. His whole mission was I need new loot strings, so that's the reason why he is here and why he's there.
Hmm.
And yeah, now it gets broken, and yeah, this is then the first time he considers to go back to Seth and Jake. So he has no loot anymore. He will not have a loot anymore, and yeah, now he thinks, okay, what now?
Hmm. And also, that's the start of one point that I really like in this series of book, is there is the one inventory moment. There's one moment where Patrick takes time to tell everyone that Quo's possessing this moment, and I think that's my favorite part about the book. That's the part where you can see all the things that he has, and you can start about, what will he do with them? How will they how will he get out of some situation using uh, soft bread and butter or something? And that's the part I really like about the whole series, and I'm happy it starts now.
Yes, yeah, you're right. So these next few chapters, you always know how much money he has in his pocket, and every coin he gets and loses it,
Hmm.
it makes you happy and makes you painful. And yeah, it's also one thing that I like about this book very, very much.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, then he tries to go back to Seaward Square, um, but unfortunately, yeah, the wagon is not there, and he can't go with Seth and Jake.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it makes sense that it doesn't get back on time. If he had such an encounter, maybe he was unconscious for some time. You never know. Maybe he got lost multiple times. Maybe he struggled walking the whole way back. It's just tough to come
Yeah,
back on time.
yeah. And then Patrick really, really wants to hurt us, so then Quoth yeah tells that he is so hungry and so thirsty and only has some brackish and sour water from a horse trough. And then even when he just wants to sleep, he can't even do that. The I don't know the merchant
Hmm.
or the owner of the store kicks him out, and yeah, then he finally finds some spot, but even that seems to be very hard.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the beginning of the three big fights, of course, for the next years: eating, drinking, and sleeping.
Yeah. And then the final sentence, that was the first night of nearly 3 years I spent in Tarbin. I found this very interesting that Patrick tells us right away that he will be there for 3 years. I
Hmm.
think it's an interesting choice that he kind of spoils this.
Hmm.
Um, but I think he chose well to do this because he builds this up how bad it is here, and
Mm-hmm.
then tells us the next 3 years will be here. The next three
Mm-hmm.
years will be this bad. And yeah, again, I think that's really, really good writing.
Mm-hmm. And I just checked, and this whole 3 years will happen between chapter 20 and chapter 26 approximately. So
Okay.
it's not that long in the book if I see it well, or
Yeah,
maybe a
definitely.
bit more. It's maybe a bit more. There's all the story with Scarpy afterwards, so maybe until 30.
Okay, yeah, I think the chapter is when he meets Denner, it's like something with stars. So the night sky, something like this will be
Hmm.
the chapter. But yeah, so okay, we spent quite a bit time
Hmm.
here, you say?
Yeah, which is fair. I think it's an important part.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe last thing about this chapter, the chapter title is Bloody Hands into Stinging Fists. And I just found this interesting because bloody hands is a sign of the emir. So in the pictures of the emir, the knights they often have like bloody hands.
Uh-huh.
Um, and yeah, I just found this interesting that maybe it's some I don't know if it's foreshadowing that Quoth will become an emir or something. Um, yeah, just wanted to point that out.
Hmm. Maybe something to have on the watch list.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, next chapter.
Let's go to chapter 21.
Wrong song. Chapter 21. The nature of nobility. What is it about, Marcy?
In this chapter, Quoth meets Trappist, the owner of a little basement where he cares for children that can't care for themselves. Maybe have some disabled in some ways, and yeah, he finds finally something which is almost like a home, almost.
Oh, I just saw I read the wrong chapter title. Chapter 21. Basement Bread and Bucket. Base
Yeah, yes.
Basement Bread and Bucket.
Yeah. So, what was your first impression of this chapter?
Well, my first impression was it's just sad. Just what we said in the chapter before. It's not very important, but it's good to know. And afterwards, the first question I ask myself is if Quoth was mentally well at this point and he could use any of his skills that he possessed with like sympathy or botanic or medicine, what do you think would be the best thing to do for him at this point in Tabi, and how could he live well off?
It's a good question. So if he was mentally not like broken like he's now, so I think a big part is that right now he does not really want to talk to people and does not want to connect to people because maybe he's afraid that he will lose them as well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and if he does not have this, and yeah, you're right, he does not use sympathy for a long time, I think.
Hmm.
Um, maybe just because it reminds him so much of his past. And if this would not be there, hmm, I don't know. You know these stories where people trade a penny into a house, so they make some little trades and get more and more and more. And I could see that Quill kind of, yeah, not in, of course, not in this way, but I could see him, yeah, gaining some objects, trading them, selling them, and just be a good salesman because he is a good actor and a good he's good on a stage, and I think selling kind of is some way of acting and presenting, and he would be good at this as well, I think. So I think yeah, becoming a merchant and getting money, getting sales. I think he would be good at that.
That's definitely an option. The other things that I was thinking about was maybe something with music. Maybe he could be a part of another some kind of troupe. I don't know how common is it to meet other Edemaru, but maybe is it the way it goes normally that you when your Edemaru troops gets fully murdered, then maybe you can join another one. I'm not sure there's a lot of precedent for it though.
I think so. I think common phrasing with the Erdemaru is one family.
Hmm.
So they are very welcoming, I think. And if there would be another Edemaru, they would welcome them very, very much to join the troop.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that would be the easiest option if there is someone in the region.
It's a big
Um,
city, so yeah, I think that maybe sooner or later someone will hear about some Edemaru coming around or being nearby.
yeah, right. But also, I was thinking there is, I think the most thing that he knows that could be useful is would be all the medicine knowledge that he has. And I think it could help quite a lot of people. So maybe there's some way that he will be like some assistant of a doctor or something like this.
Yeah, he, as Abethy told Quo's parents, no matter what he would do, he would be good at it.
Hmm.
And I think this is also in this case here that he has, I think, a lot of skills, many skills, and he could choose to do many things. So maybe there's some chemist around which who he could help. Um, yeah, music, as you said. But yeah, in general, I think he's very skilled and could could find work.
Hmm. Unfortunately, he's not feeling well and is not in a state where he can do that.
No, so yeah, he starts the day again with some kicks and shoves and some curses and yeah, a spray of spittle and one iron shim. So this I thought was very witty written.
Hmm.
So yeah, Patrick tells us what bad things he got, and he got this one little coin as well.
Hmm.
Um, Found that funny as well.
Hmm. And the the basement that we're talking about, that's following some other boys, and it gets some bread of the old man. The old man that's called Trappy, Trappist,
Trappist?
Trappist.
Hmm.
The first thing that I was asking myself about Trappist is directly when Quo sees him, he can say what's the problem with his legs and what he should do, but he doesn't say it to him. But
That's
what
true.
what do you think it's the reason? Do you think he doesn't want to help him, or there's like a more easier reason about his mental state or something?
Yeah, I think he just doesn't like to talk to people yet. He's very, very shy.
Mm,
I think he also just nods whenever Trappist tells him to that he can earn some bread for carrying some water. He just nods and doesn't talk.
mm,
And what I found also interesting here is, yeah, when he thinks about what would be best, he says feet and legs should be raised, massaged, and swabbed in a warm infusion of willow bark, camphor, and arrowroot. And this is just some, yeah, interesting thing. In the second book, Quoth meets some, yeah, some, I don't know what it's called, some an older woman that's also known with medicine, and she tells him that arrowroot does not have any good effect.
mm,
And yeah, this I just found funny that here we see that Quoth still believes that arrowroot does have an effect,
mhm,
and at the university also I think the master physicist there also thinks this way. And yeah, there is just this one older woman in the east that tells him actually it doesn't have any effect. And I think Quoth will later make a study as well on arrowroot. Um, and yeah, we have here I think our first mentioning of that.
Hmm. Maybe it puts a bit in perspective that everything that he learned from Ben maybe not really up to the latest studies there is.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we also have another interesting mentioning. When Quoth first arrives, I can really relate this. Imagine you walk down a basement, which is some grim, dark, lighted with some candles only,
Hmm.
or some old lights, and then there are children, what it's called, like nodded on their beds. What would your thoughts be if you walked into a basement like this?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a place you would go to, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm. But I can guess that there's the tip of the other kid that says there is bread, so I think just has to go in his state, and also, yeah, I think just only the desperation of having hunger can make you do anything.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, he both thinks about some stories he heard about the Duke of Gibeah,
Hmm.
and we actually later hear, I think, more about this Duke of Gibeah. I don't know if you remember this, um, but I think he was the guy that did a lot of medical research, but for that he cut up open live
Oh,
humans
mm-hmm,
and did some very cruel stuff. But yeah, he did some very big research, and most of most of the medicine studies come from him. And there's this one discussion where Quoth and Simon discuss about this, how important this research was, and I think Simmons' family is around this area from this Duke where the Duke lived, and maybe he has some parents or great parents that were killed there or in any way affected. Um, but yeah, this is I think the guy. I'm not
mm,
100% sure. I didn't look it up, but I think this is the one.
mm-hmm. What's also interesting is there is a story of this in our history too, right? In the Second World War, in the concentration camps, there was some human experimentation from the Nazis, right?
Yeah, I don't know a lot about this, but yeah, I have heard about this as well.
Mm. I'm not sure if there was anything really useful from it, though.
I don't know either, but yeah, I heard that they did some experiments. But yeah, I think it's in general there is this discussion on also with animal trials and yeah, how much damage or yeah bad doing is can be spoken of as good in the name of the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is also what the Emir are about. So the Emir are always doing that what they seem to, which is the greater good for the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
And there they discuss as well if this Duke of Gibeah is a member of the Emir.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, this is I think a very difficult discussion to have. What is good enough or what is bad enough to not do it.
Mm-hmm. Also, that's that puts also light on maybe a discussion with the goal of the Chandrian, because one thing that a lot of villains try to do is they want to do good in their own way and in a very cynical way most of the time. So that could also, in some way, speak to some like the villains of the story. That could be, for example, the Chandrian.
Mhm. Yeah, I think this is also a good motivation for a good villain that he believes that has to do this bad thing, but it's for the greater good. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a good motive for a villain, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm. And mostly the people on the good side say, but there is a limit. You cannot do X or Y just because it's for a greater good. There are things that you just cannot do. So
Yes. Yeah, it's
that's
very interesting because I think this is very human to do to be like, no, you can't do this even if it's for the greater good. I
mm-hmm.
think if you don't have any emotions, it would be very reasonable to say, yeah, that this makes sense. Of course, let's kill 1,000 people or 10,000 people now, so
Mm-hmm.
that later 100,000 won't die.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, but having emotions, suddenly those people are evil and the villains. And yeah, I found this very interesting. You can discuss a lot about this, I think.
Mm-hmm. Also, I think what's part of it, it's I think humans have a lot of trouble taking decisions when all the options are bad. I think it's easy for humans to take what's better for them, but it's hard for them to take the less the lesser evil because most of the time when you think about the option, you think it's bad, so you don't take it. But maybe it's a better option, even if it's bad and it's really tough.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really a very good point. Okay. Um, anything else here? I think, yeah, they mentioned this Duke of Gibeah, and then Travis tells him what he can do to earn some bread. And one thing that I found interesting, you kind of mentioned it earlier. There are a lot of young boys, and it's said here as well. Most of them were young boys.
Hmm.
And what do you think are with the young girls? Do
Hmm.
you think they didn't survive, or that they have some other place, or what do you think?
Mm. I, I the realistic thought for me, but not the very positive thought, is that in this kind of world and this kind of situation, that girls will be used for prostitution in this kind of situation.
Mm.
That will be my pessimistic approach to this. What do you think?
I think one optimistic approach would be to think that maybe the people have um, more feelings
Mercy?
towards mercy for young girls, and maybe they have some more care for them, and maybe some places where they can stay or help them, or some orphanage for girls, especially. Um,
Mm,
yeah,
yeah, it's possible. Maybe the other explanation is that they just don't survive.
yeah, it might be true. There's one other little thing I think, but now it wouldn't make sense. I think there are areas where when you get a child, um, sadly they kill their child if it's a girl, because they need to have a boy,
Hmm.
because the boy can help more, or maybe in this society the boy is more worth. And I think when China has this one child policy, um, the yeah, suddenly there were much more boys born than girls.
Hmm.
And yeah, maybe this could be in some way related, but I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, there were stories that when you had a girl, then you sold her to some person, and this person most of the time ruled some illegal factories, and kids started to work with at a very young age
Yeah,
and produced our clothes or something like this.
yeah,
Nothing to laugh about, but it's just so ironic.
yeah, definitely. There is in this chapter one other thing that I found. I've heard this is the first time that I realized this, and I really like this one. Um, so Quoth describes the robe that Trappist has. It's patched and mended to such a degree that I couldn't really guess at its original color or shape. And I remembered that in the second book, when Quoth is with the two mercenaries and the Edem mercenary and Martin, when they are telling stories, they tell a story about Tabelin the Great, and they say that he has a cloak of not a particular color, and they all say how they imagine what the color is. So I think Martin says that it's light blue. Um, then the male merchant says that it's like dark or gray, and Quoth actually says he imagined is like with a lot of patches and so many different color patches, so it's no particular color, and
Hmm.
it looks like maybe he has this from this situation. What do you
Hmm.
think?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the other explanation would be that Trappist would be Tabalin in his old day. I don't think that's a serious one. But yeah, it makes sense that when we have to picture something that we associate it with things that we already saw, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I like the idea very much that Trappist and Tamerlane might also be the same person because, of course, this is far-fetched and probably not true. But I also was wondering how does Trappist, yeah, get his resources? How does he get the money and bread and the time to care for the other ones? Um, and yeah, he seems to be like this hero in disguise and.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I like the idea very much that Quoth maybe sees him as, for him at least, as Tabelin the Great.
There will be a last highlight that I have in this chapter. It will be at the end, when he says that it helped him to know that there is the basement of Trappist when he was when he was out on the rooftops. So that means we already know that he will spend most of the 3 years on the rooftops. And I
Mhm.
think it's a big information because that's starting to see that he will get. I mean, we start to see that he will have some kind of home in some way, and that's the moment where you can start to feel cautiously optimistic, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. He says that, yeah, it's like almost having a home, and then, of course, yeah, he has his rooftop, his little own base there. Yeah, good point.
Do you have
But
anything else
only
for this
almost.
chapter? Yeah.
No, I don't have anything else about this chapter.
All right.
Then let's move to the final part of this episode.
Uh-huh. So today we planned something specific, not the who said it. We have what if questions. What is the what if questions that we have today? Marcy, do you want to start?
I do want to start because I'm afraid that we might have the same. Um, so my first
Maybe.
question is, what if Seth and Jake would still be there at the Seaward Square? What do you think? What would happen? How would the story maybe evolve? What would both lives look like? What would Seth and Jake's life maybe look like? What do you think?
Hmm. That's not a question that I have, but I like the question. Mm,
Hmm.
I think it's it's really a story that I would have liked to read. I think because it would have seemed way more light-hearted, and maybe you could have love with them and stuff. I
Just a
just
nice story about some farmer's home and good times at a farm.
yeah, but I just wonder if Quoth could have stayed so long there. I think if I think it's just inevitable in this day that Quoth at some point says, "Okay, I want to go to university. I want to learn more about the Chandrian. Want to have revenge." I don't think there's any way around that, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I think what would change would probably be that he would. I think he would get sooner to the university. I don't think that he would take 3 years
Hmm.
um, to do this. Maybe he would stay longer there as well. It could be because yeah, I think he does connect to people in some way. He has like his friends, and also he does not want to leave Auri behind, or he thinks about, or he joins Tarpi to the ADEM. So he is, I think, connected to people and does not lightly leave them behind. Um, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think it would be a good possibility that he would even get sooner to the university.
Hmm. The only thing that I could imagine that could make a big change is I think Tabian is not the right place for him to meet some people to start a loving relationship with. But maybe on the countryside, it will have been the right context for him. So maybe he would have started a relationship with someone. So maybe it would have shifted things. But I'm not sure how realistic
Yeah,
that is.
interesting. This would add to this beautiful story on the on the countryside.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would also read this book. That would be very, very nice.
All right.
What is
Um,
your first what if?
my first question is: what if Quos died with its Edemaru troop? Which lives would have changed it the most? From all the characters that you know, which life would be totally different if Quos was dead at the same time of its parents?
Oh, good question. So I don't think that there are too many people we can think about. So, for example, our Auri, of course, she
Hmm.
would be more alone, but I don't think that her life would change too much.
Yeah, she's alone most of the
So,
time anyway.
yeah. Then Will and Sim, I think, yeah, of course, they would miss him in this way, but I think they would do their studies as well.
Hmm.
I think the Masters as well. Um, the mayor. Yeah, I think the mayor would have died, so maybe the mayor.
Mm,
I,
yeah.
I thought the obvious answer would be Denna, but
Hmm.
also Denna is very independent and travels a
Yeah.
lot alone.
Hmm.
And um, I think I think she, yeah, I don't know how much she can bear this being alone because she is very much alone, and I think Quoth is for her a very like some kind of anchor or something that, yeah, just a friend that she can go back to and makes her feel maybe less alone and gives a little bit of hope in her life.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, her life other than that, so other than this feeling that she gets from him, in perspective of what she does, I think would not change a
Hmm.
lot. So yeah, my answer would be the mayor because the mayor would not have Lady Legless as his wife, would have bandits on his streets, and
Hmm.
maybe would be dead.
Yeah, that's also what surprised me because I was at first when I saw about the question, it was like, it changes everything. But when I first thought about everyone, I think they would just have be very similar actually. So Quoth is not that important actually in some way.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point of view. Yeah. So it's not like, I don't know, Harry Potter or Percy Jackson
Hmm.
who are saving the world and everything is at stake. No, it's just Quoth's life, and of course we do not know what happens to the Chandrian if maybe he
Hmm.
kills one of them or I don't know. But for now, I think yeah, that's not very much.
Yes, and I think for me it makes him more sympathetic because when there are all these people that are saving the universe and stuff, it's tough to be related to relate to them, and it's easier to relate to Quoth when you know, okay, he could have died and it wouldn't have changed so much so far.
Yeah, definitely.
but I think it's going to change if there's any third book, for example.
Yeah, I think so too, because we know that Quoth talked to the Cathay, so this evil tree,
Mm,
and Bas tells us that everyone who talked to the Cathay in the last thousands of years, this led to major events, world-changing events and wars. And yeah, I think at this point, after this point, Quoth will have a big effect on the world as well.
mm, yeah.
Okay, are you ready for my second one?
Yes.
This question is, what if Denna was a boy? What do you think? Do you think that Denna and Quoth would be friends, or what do you think? How would Denna being a boy change for the story?
Hmm. Um, I think it will change quite much. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think for a lot of boys or men, they they sometimes mistake their interest in one person for the interest in the relationship of the sexual intercourse they want to have with the person. So um, I think if Dana was a boy or if Dana was not attractive to Cross, I think that it would be a big difference in how much they would have interact.
Okay, that's interesting.
Don't you think?
Uh, well, for me at least, I think when there are these big couples in book series, then I at least hope that it's not only about looks. So
Mm-hmm.
I hope that Quoth also likes Dana's personality.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, he is very attracted to her. He said that she's the most beautiful thing he had seen in the last 3 years, I think. Um, but yeah, I think that personality is also some big point. So I
Mm-hmm.
could imagine them becoming friends. Of course, if Dana was a boy, then probably her life would be totally different as well. But let's imagine that her life would stay the same, so that she, as a boy, would be some kind of traveling guy or yeah, musician, and um, yeah. So I don't know. I think they could become friends, and I don't know. It would change a little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they will put so much effort in trying to meet another if both were boys. I think they will be happy to meet anywhere they randomly meet, but I don't think
Yeah.
they will actively search for another.
Yes, could make sense, yeah. Would you like the story if it would be more of a friendship instead of a romantic relationship?
Mm, to me, the story with Dina is not so important in this book. I mean, I recognize that it's important for the book and it plays a big role, but it's not a big part of my enjoyment of the book. So I
Mhm.
wouldn't mind too much. Will you?
Okay. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think the first chapters with Denna and Quoth, especially the first one when they meet there under the star in this traveling caravan, I don't know, and then they spend their this night in under the stars, and then of course when they meet at the Aeolian, then again for the first or for the second time. I really think that those are very, very beautiful chapters and moments,
Mm-hmm.
and I like them very, very much. I do think that maybe later in the second book, I like it less because I think they argue more and get into fights more, and
Mm-hmm.
just don't like reading about this.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so at this point, I care a little bit less about them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, especially in the beginning, I really, really like this little love story,
Mm-hmm.
and I would miss it a lot. but also I think a good friendship is also worth a lot. So I do like reading about a very, very good friendship, and I think a friend dying for another friend is a bigger moment than a lover dying for his wife or
Mm-hmm.
her husband.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I would like a good friendship even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe what would have been also interesting is to have an homosexual relationship in the cover of such a book.
Again?
If Denna was a boy, and maybe there will still be a loving relationship, there will be an homosexual relationship in the central plot of the story that will be quite unique in such a big saga.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, would also be interesting, probably, yeah.
All right, should I
Okay,
tell you about my last question?
yes.
What if Quoth and Ben never met? What does Quoth do after the death of its troop?
Oh, that's interesting. That's a good question because I think this would change quite a bit the story.
Mm-hmm.
I
He,
think if Quoth never met Ben, he would not have heard really about the university,
mm-hmm.
and of course, he would not have learned that much. Good question. Um, hmm. I think,
Maybe he would even recognize that the people are the Chandrian. I don't know if it's so much about Ben or more about its father, but maybe he wouldn't even know who really killed its troop.
yeah, that's a good point. If he would knew this, um, hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think, of course, his drive would still be to find the Chandrian and kill the Chandrian.
Mm-hmm.
So I think after he would have have made his arrangement that he can survive, has enough food and enough money, maybe. Yeah, he would try to find more about this. Then
Mm-hmm.
I think he would maybe try to find Scarpi. He would not go to the university, but
Mm-hmm.
he would try to find Scarpi and
Mm-hmm.
get some information more from him about Lanre and about the Chandrian. And of course, I'm not sure if Scarpi is maybe Emir or not. And yeah, I think the story would evolve there.
Mm-hmm. I have two other theories that could happen. Is maybe it would then go to another Edemaru troop and try to tell them about the story and try to know more about the Chandrian from starting from this point of view. Also, what I could imagine is that he will go to the to the boss of the I don't remember who he is, to the boss of the Edemaru troop of his father. I don't know which noble person it is, but maybe he
Uh,
could go to them, tell a story, and try to say, "Oh, the Chandrian just attacked you personally, one of your people." So maybe we'll try to convince them to go ahead with him and try to fight them back.
yeah, that's true. I think yeah, maybe the first one would make a little bit more sense for me. I don't know if he knows much about. Oh, no, he would get a map. He is smart enough. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think yeah, the second one makes sense as well. Yeah, but I like also the idea of him going to Scarpi, finding Scarpi, and
Mm-hmm.
um, being with him.
Yeah, yeah, that's also very plausible. Nice.
Okay. I also I have one point about my what if again.
Mm-hmm.
What if Denna was a boy? Because I thought about this previous to the episode and forgot it now.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that would change a lot is that Quoth would not have someone to sing with him at the Aeolian when he for his pipe, for his
Oh,
silver pipe, and I think
wouldn't
this would
Denna
change.
be able to sing as a boy?
Huh?
Wouldn't be Denna able to sing as a boy, or to not sing as well, or to not compliment
Well,
Quoth?
Well, this duet that they sing is one part male and one part female. So
Mm-hmm.
it would be there would be needed a female voice, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that Denna as a boy would
Yeah.
jump into this and sing this yeah female part.
Hmm.
So yeah, if Quoth would never have gotten his silver pipes, um, he might not have the money to pay for his tuition
Hmm.
and maybe had to leave the university earlier. Um, so this was one thought that I had.
Yeah, that makes a lot of things tougher because a lot of its important contact comes from the Aeolian too.
Yeah,
The world's second book wouldn't come then.
yeah, that's true because yeah, the mayor and I forget his name, but
Mm,
yeah, he got the connection from there.
wow.
Okay, yeah, I like that. It was a lot of fun to think about how the story could look like if some little changes were made or some bigger changes. Um,
Yeah, I enjoy it too. And it's nice to see that some little change make a big change and some big change make a little change.
yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I think if you don't have anything else, I don't
I
have
don't.
either. Okay, then yeah, hear you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.